fantastic, and I don't seriously have a problem with that. Again, it's Doug and Kyle here on Screen Time. We changed our name. We
Yes.
re, re we revamped um,
Well, you're just the
kind of
vamp
the
to do it.
kind of a I am kind of that. It's I we decided to kind of look at what we've done in the past and kind of retool it a little bit.
Yeah.
And retooling means, really getting out there, putting a new platform together, having absolutely interesting guests, of course, like you.
Thank
We've only had our other cohort on one of our other shows before. Name is Robbie, who might be watching right now because he said he was going to try to get on and watch for a little bit. Because I think he's cleaning his sock drawer right now. Is that true, Kyle? Or I'm not really sure. Anyway, I'm sorry, Robbie. I'm really kidding, but um, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. But again, this is our first meeting with you, and I think the I guess the first question I have is who. First of all, I want to know how to. Is it Tardon? Is it
It's
Tard? I
like
just want to
it's
make sure I
French.
don't want to say your name
It's
wrong.
it's French, so it's pronounced like an
Oh,
O. So and
oh,
it's
okay,
on the
gotcha.
second syllable, so it's Tardon.
Tardon.
Oh,
Okay, I
So
gotcha. See,
I
everybody's
really
different.
understand. I really get Rachel Maddow because
Yeah,
everyone calls her Maddow.
Matt. Right,
It's Maddow. It's
right, right,
Maddow.
right.
It's Tardon, and that's okay.
Right.
wait. You said you
Yeah,
were
people have. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Just really quick, just to say, you said you were French.
Oui.
What? Moi aussi, je parle français.
Je suis français. And my family, I'm like the worst French Mexican you have ever known because at one time, Mexico, France was involved in Mexico. And so a lot of the French people went to Mexico and got involved. Well, my family went to Mexico, and that's how my family got there. And I was born there, and I came here as a small child, and I was naturalized. And I really appreciate being in your country.
Oh, cool. Amazing. That's so cool.
Well, we certainly appreciate you being here.
It is. It is. It's because I mean, I am an honorary citizen, and have been so since 1954. And so that is so it is a delight to be part of this to be part of this amazing experiment that we're going through. I mean, this is astonishing. What we're getting a chance to go through here in the United States is
Yeah.
amazing, and it feels to me that at this time in history, that there has never been a time when there has been more change or a faster amount of change than there has been right now. And I don't know if we're all keeping up or coping with it, but we are getting a chance to connect person to person. I mean, a few years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do this.
No,
Mhm.
no, not at all. Not at all. At all.
And yet here we are. And
Well,
I'm good. And Doug and Kyle, how did you decide to put your name in that way? What is the history of that?
Well, as you know, I'm a pretty big Superman fan, so I
Yeah.
decided to kind of go with the Kryptonian heritage name, I guess you could say. So,
All right. All right. Yeah, I am a I remember collecting those comics when I was a child
so awesome.
on the early in the 50s, and the Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Justice League of America, all of those where they were originally that they were going, and now of course where everyone has a movie about them now.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And
yes,
so you guys are
absolutely.
doing this now. You're going to focus on films, on
Yeah,
cinema?
we kind of decided. How it first started is that we're both kind of Marvel fans. Now, I'm only a Marvel fan. My wife is a Marvel fan. The only reason that we became Marvel fans is because our daughter got heavily into Marvel. now. She's in college now. She's in her second
Mhm.
year, and doing really well. But she's a huge Marvel fan, and she said, "Oh, I need to show you these movies." So we sat down in the den and started watching every single Marvel movie that was ever created. So it has taken us a very, very long time. We're actually ahead of her right now because she hasn't finished She-Hulk yet.
Oh
So we're
wow.
a little ahead of her. She's really, really busy. Coincidentally, she's actually studying. She's studying theater, acting, and so, but it's drama. So it's one of those things where um, we sat down and we watched everything. So Kyle and I, uh, we met through our friend Robbie,
Mhm.
and then Kyle and I sat. We called each other one night. We were like, "Hey, why don't we just do a show? And why don't we do like Marvel? Because there's only 1.6 million people that are doing a show on Marvel. Why don't we do our show on Marvel and see what happens?" So we started out with, and we figured out a name, and we started to do the shows, and Kyle with this incredible, and we just didn't talk Marvel. We talked about movies, we talked about TV shows, we talked a little bit about video games too.
Mhm.
So we started to do this, and if you go back and see some of the stuff that we've done, Kyle's amazing editing at the beginning. We did this space themed episode, and he went all space on us, and he did a fantastic. We did a one on James Bond. He did a huge mantra. What is it called? A
Montage.
montage of
Oui,
this
oui,
James Bond movies and
montage. Très bien.
montage. Yes,
Yes.
Montage.
yes.
Favorite.
We will
Oh
speak,
man, I
Kyle,
am gonna be the third
and
man
we
out
will
here.
speak French to
Yes.
les Américains,
Yeah.
please.
Like mise en
Yeah,
scène and all those terms.
I don't know any of it, so I just know a couple words. Anyway, so what we did is we started to do this Marvel thing, and then we sat down, and I actually had somebody on our sports show that was from Atlanta, and he's a Celtics fan down in Atlanta because he grew up here in Massachusetts, and he moved down to Atlanta, and it's kind of a rare thing for a Celtics fan to be in a different city.
Yeah.
So we had him on, and he said, we started talking on Twitter, and then we started talking about, hey, you should use this StreamYard thing, and you should do this and do that. And he gave us a lot of good feedback about our podcast and stuff like that, very positive feedback. And then I talked to Kyle, and Kyle was like, yeah, let's change this up a little bit. So our focus is going to be on movies, TV, and a little bit on video games too, because we're both kind of video game guys. But I don't play 24 hours a day like a little kid. But we both get, and Kyle's a vintage player and loves the I love all the old movies and the some of the new movies. He's got the
Mm.
vintage stuff already in
Mm.
his hanging out. So that's kind of how it kind of came about
How
in that
cool.
way. But we decided to
Kyle,
change it
are
up.
you moving all into the new virtual reality and with the video games and the Meta headset and but is that where we are going in video games?
You know what? I actually haven't really tried that very often. It's a very well, it's very daring. I do appreciate just the creativity like that they do in a lot of those games, but I haven't actually tried a lot of them. I'm a very classic, like old school. Like I like the controller. It's just my style.
Oh, how cool! It is. I know that we are. This idea of where entertainment and immersion and being able to get. I mean, I know in we're getting that in films. We're getting there's a process called stable diffusion that is getting to where in a short amount of time And I mean it's sooner than people that you're going to be able to write your screenplay, and you're going to be able to cast it, and you're going to be able to figure out your characters and have them, and be as an editor and as a director, actually be able to run and make your film, never having another human being involved.
Oh my God.
And that is happening now. I mean, it's a stunning. The advances that are happening faster than anything, and it will be assistance from AI. It will be assistance from the work that's happening, and so we're crossing a lot of boundaries right now in entertainment and how we're able to know. I guess I really ought to do a Turing test on you just to make sure that I'm not talking to two AI. I mean, how would you know? How would we make sure that exactly? That's what I thought so. I had a feeling. I was sitting there going, "This is
Hello,
just."
Dennis.
I'm a
I am
little
here to
too
talk to you to
comfortable.
have a
It's a
conversation.
little too real.
Unfortunately, I'm way too real. So
No.
that's what it comes down to. And
Well,
actually,
yeah.
fortunately, I'm real. So that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, we haven't. We'd like to talk about the progression of what of film and movies and TV. I am so interested in that. I went to Emerson College, so I studied that stuff. I studied radio mostly, but I did study that. And it was fascinating. I had professors at Emerson that were actually in a situation where they were in the field. Most of my professors were either I still talk to a professor now. Her name is Donna Helper. She is fantastic. She was one of my first teachers at Emerson. I went back when I was older, in my 30s. So I was going to intro classes with freshmen in it, and I was at one of the best communication schools in the country. So
Nice.
I learned a ton from all of those people. I had a guy named, I think his name was Robert Conrad. He was the one in the moon missions in 1969. His course was called Technical Writing, and he was the the, the copywriter, the guy who was writing copy in 1969 during the moon missions for Walter Cronkite. And we were like, you didn't do that. There's no way you did that. We didn't
Wow.
believe him. Then he had his VHS tape. He stuck the VHS tape in and he said, "This is the unedited version of what you saw." I was like, well, "What are you talking about?" "That's me." And then I was like, "That's not you. There's no way that's you." We were like, "No, come on." And then the credits started rolling. He's like, "This is Robert Conrad." Yeah, exactly. And that was the proof. And we're like, "Oh my goodness,
Like,
this guy not knew Walter Cronkite and was writing copy for him. This is
Hmm.
this is crazy." Um, Donna Helper founded Rush in America in Ohio at a radio station in Ohio. The band Rush. It was fantastic. She's been a radio lady for a radio DJ person and a consultant for probably 40 years now. And she's a wonderful person to talk to. Talk about somebody who has a conversation with. She's fabulous. But again, I think that's what we want to do is we want to incorporate some of that old to new kinds of situations too. Right,
How
Kyle?
lovely. How lovely. I mean, that's
We want to do it.
it's this is, I mean, when you're talking about micro, because I look at audiences and how we're going to build audiences is to go from small, because having a few dedicated viewers who want to be able to follow you, it's so much more important than it was years ago. I mean, we're talking about right now there are over 2 million podcasts, so we're really splintering the audience down where we be able to get it to where we want, and we can find the people who are really interested in the subjects that we want to talk about, and then really drill down into those subjects and be able to get them and to have some interesting conversation about it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely. I think that's huge. Kyle, I know you and I had discussed some things about that, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. We always like to kind of try to get everyone's opinion, and because it's I feel like a lot of people are gonna have different perspectives on the topic. Whether certain things you agree on or maybe you don't agree on as much, but it's kind of cool hearing what everyone has to say about that. And um, yeah, we really like to kind of like keep it chill and just really and and I feel like we learn a lot about each other and about our guests, when we yeah, on a lot of those episodes or yeah.
Exactly. And are you starting a new season? Is this a new season that you'll be starting? Or are you going to be launching this as at the movies? What is your title? What is your podcast title going to be?
So actually we just recently turned it to
Rebranded?
screen time.
Yeah,
It used to
we're
be Marvel at
rebranding
the
it.
movies, but we kind of because we wanted to kind of stray a little farther away from Marvel and talk more about open subjects like that. And we were like, let's just do screen time. We'll talk about entertainment and kind of have and that'll give us kind of more free reign on what we want to talk about. And we don't have to just stick with just Marvel all the time, because there's so much to talk about in the entertainment industry. So yeah.
We also, I kind of looked up when you look up Marvel. I mean, just YouTube Marvel.
Yeah,
There's so many people that are talking about Marvel out there, which is wonderful, including Marvel themselves. The
exactly.
actual the actual Marvel people are actually talking about Marvel,
Yep.
which is wonderful, which is great. And there's so many podcasts out there. Well, and it's hard to find us. I don't want it to be hard to find us. I want it to be
Mhm.
easy to find us. So rebranding is what we thought about because we thought if we changed it to something a little bit more, so it's really called Screen Time. So we thought about, it's really screen time. And it's not a negative thing; it's a positive thing because sometimes
Totally.
when I looked up screen time, sometimes it can be, oh, kids are on their screens too much. So it can be kind of a negative thing, but we're trying to bring a more positive spin on screen time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just talking about TV and movies, and just kind of giving our opinion, but we also
This
want
is
other
a
people's opinion
screen.
too.
I
Yeah.
mean, screen is it's a wonderful word. I love I love words. And I love to when you take a word like screen, you can then apply it so much. So screen time, I mean, you can be screening issues, you can be
Mhm.
screening. I mean, there's so many different ways to be able to
Oh
use that
yeah,
and really to keep it open.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
Never
exactly,
thought of it that way
exactly,
actually.
and yeah, and again, this is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to
Great
wanting
name.
people's opinion about our name, wanting people's opinion about what we're talking about. Maybe there's a movie we just talked about that you might, and you think of three other movies that you want to just throw onto the comments. We want to know, and we tell people on our podcast. We say, look, we want to know, we want to hear from you. We want to hear
Yeah.
good and we want to hear bad. We want to hear what we're doing and what we're not doing right, because that only makes us better. And we need to
Well,
get better every day.
Well, guys, one of the things I would like to know is and I don't know that a lot of people would admit it, but I certainly find it true for me, is that whatever my mood is when I'm going to see a particular film will dictate very much what my experience of that film will be.
Hmm.
So I,
Mhm.
I'm, and I know people say, "Oh, well, I'm a great movie critic," and so it doesn't. But I'm not sure that that's possible. I'm not sure we can take the subjective out of it because I will watch something and I will have a completely different experience whether I'm in a peaceful place or an agitated place or a place where I'm not feeling well. I'll have a completely different experience of exactly the same movie. Do you guys have that too?
Yeah. No, I think I know what you mean actually. Yeah, it's depends on kind of like how you feel. And no, I've gotten that actually. Even when I watched, I think one of the examples, I think I had kind of a stressful week when I watched Avengers Endgame when that came out back in like 2019, and it just wasn't as enjoyable. Whereas, like, I think I remember another time I watched it, it might have been like during a more calmer time, like during a weekend where not as much stuff was going on. And you're
Yeah.
right, it did feel like a
The
different.
the same movie, but it's a different experience depending upon the lens that I view it through.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I actually watch certain movies and see certain TV shows depending almost on the opposite side of that. And I understand what you're saying, but on the opposite side, if I'm feeling in a certain way, um, I may want to watch one of the old funny movies just to get me out of that mood that I'm in.
Oh yeah,
So it's kind of like
beautiful.
it's not a reverse thing, but like if I want to watch something funny, um, and I'm not in the greatest of mood, or I'm stressed about something or whatever, throw in a Michael Keaton movie, Mr. Mom, or something like that from a while back,
Night shift.
and then all of a
220,
sudden I'm laughing.
221, whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. 220, 221, right? Whatever it takes. It's fabulous. It's a great line. Um, it, it, that's the kind of thing that I do with mine, with my things is that I always, when I see a movie like that, one that makes me feel good about things, I'll always have it on my DVR. I'll
Yeah,
always have one or two of those movies so I can go back to them. If I'm having a stressful day or if I'm having a crappy day or whatever it is, few and far between, but sometimes I do because obviously I'm human, I think.
sure.
I'm not sure. I could be a robot, but I'm not sure. But um, I'll go to one of those movies. But yes, it is true. You have to be kind of, and there's sometimes that my wife and I will be sitting down and we'll say, "Oh, what do you want to watch? You want to watch something funny? You want to watch a movie? Do you want to watch?" And then we're undecided. So we're like, "Okay, what do we do? Do we watch something funny because we had a stressful day? Do we watch something serious? Or do we watch over here? Or do we watch something that we were supposed to watch like last week, but we didn't have time to?" So yeah, I think the mood that you're in does determine um, how your experience is in watching that movie or TV show.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I want to.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of experiencing the movie and allowing that movie to be able to lift me or to be able to be the place where I am. I know uh, I love being able to pick up anywhere in the arc of Friends. A wonderful, wonderful series, at 10 years, so we can just pick it up at any particular place,
Mhm.
know the lines, do what we're doing, figure that, or you pick up a movie. Uh, do you go back in time, Kyle, or do you? I mean, how old are you today?
Oh, 33.
You're 32, and how old are you, Doug?
105.
105. I'm 74, so I'm your younger
No, I
brother.
am I am approximately 56 years old.
So, all right, well, that's good because it goes all right. So, do you go back 10 or 15 or 20 years before you were born and still enjoy the movies and the comedy during that time, Kyle?
Absolutely. I actually, for a lot of it, for the most part, I actually prefer older movies. Not saying that a lot of movies today are bad or anything, but I don't know. I just got that kind of. A lot of those movies are very nostalgic to me. Like I do go back to kind of like I prefer the older superhero movies actually even more to the
Mhm.
ones nowadays. I prefer Christopher Reeve as Superman. I think his movies were my
Stunning, wasn't he?
yeah.
I had one of my most powerful visceral experiences was when I was in, because I was such a fan of Christopher Reeves, and
Mhm.
then so I went to, oh, there's this, he's in a new movie, and he's in a new movie with Michael Caine, and it's called Death Trap, so I'm gonna go see it. So I'm sitting there in the movie, and yeah, I'm a kid, right? I'm a kid, and and I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and suddenly Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve are kissing. I went, because Christopher Reeves plays a gay character in this character, and then, of course, this is way early. This is way early in the thing, and I am just I am just shocked. And it was just such an incredible choice. You know, there is in Death Trap, and that's Superman and my makeup. It was a learning and growing experience for me. I mean, I I'm so glad that I'm much more mature. It has taken me so long to be able to accept men kissing. When that first I was horrified during the end, but over the course of the years, gradually as I've grown and I went through Glee and I went through I can at least see I can see the romance. I can see, okay, there's a romance there. These are two human beings, and I don't have to have that same reaction. Never had that reaction with two women. Never had that saying, you know, I was really. It's an extraordinary experience. What is the difference? I don't know. Cultural. I can't tell.
But I think it, Dennis. Some of it is in your head. That's Superman. In your head, that's Superman. And why? What? Why is he? This is
Do they
Superman.
have
I mean,
any
he
gay
flies and
characters? Do they have gay characters now in the Marvel verse?
Yeah, they actually do. They've been incorporating that more. I'm trying to remember. I think one of the characters from Thor, I believe. I think she's a lesbian. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, they've been kind of slowly like even in DC too. Actually, even in some of the they call it the Arrowverse, the CW shows. Essentially, they've been having more kind of gay and lesbian
Right.
characters in those. So.
I just love that's one of the things that I love about humanity. I love the rainbow. I love our diversity. You
Mhm.
know, that we just have this incredible plethora of humanity. You know, that each one of the person. I mean, like for example, I take no credit for being heterosexual. I get no points for that. I was wired that way. As a little boy, as a little boy, I just loved little girls. I just wanted to be around them. I wanted to spend time. So I can understand. And I have friends who are gay who say to me, I knew when I was 6 years old. When I was 6 years old, I knew I was attracted to guys. That was the way it was. So I can understand that. But I don't take any, I can't pat myself on the back and go, well, I'm wired that way. And so I can understand how others are wired that way too.
Yeah. No, that's
yeah,
a really good point. Yeah.
I had my first girlfriend in first grade. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and so you get no
I can
points
totally
either.
relate to
We get no points for that. We don't get it. Just the way
that.
it is. It's just
No, yeah, it's really totally the way it is. So that's kind of what we're kind of putting together here
wonderful.
is trying
Well, I would
to kind
love.
of answer your.
I would love to come on the show and have it and y'all pull up some subjects that we'd like to talk about and toss this. Now, one of the things that I would love to talk about, or I would love to say, if you guys have done it, are you familiar with the film Blast from the Past?
um, Brendan Fraser and Christopher
Brendan
Walken, right?
Fraser and Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek
Yeah.
and a real all-star cast. But it's a beautiful piece of history from the Cold War and all the work that we're doing. And so that is just it's an extraordinarily well done piece of work.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah, I've actually.
see,
Yeah,
it's been a
I've
while. I've seen that one.
yeah, I have I think I've seen it before, but I'm not sure. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah,
Um, well, one of the things that attracted me, I always wanted to be an actor. I think probably from the first time I knew what acting was. My brothers and I have two brothers, one older and one younger. Um, this was a story. Billy Crystal told a story. He was being interviewed by Barbara Walters, and he said he was in the old Jewish home in Long Island where he grew up, and he said, you know, during holidays, not just was Thanksgiving, but some Jewish holidays too. He shared a room with his brother, and his room was the hat, the coat, and the cane room, and just mostly coats, but there were other things that were there. And they used to bring the coats and everything into the into his brother's him and his brother's
Sure.
room. And what he said was, he said, "Look, we had this big, huge coffee table, and my brother and I used to take the hats and the coats, and we used to do skits on the table in front of all the relatives, because all the relatives are there, all the aunties, all the uncles, all the, all the grandfathers and the grandmothers and the great grandmothers, everybody was there." He said, and this was poignant, he said his uncles used to put quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, and he used to stick them to his brothers and his forehead. He said, if I at the end of the night, if I had $2.50, I knew it was a good night. And it's just so, as soon as I heard that story, I said to myself, and I heard that story later in life. As soon as I heard that story, I used to do impressions with my brothers growing up. We used to do skits. We put this 50th birthday party video together for my dad, of all stuff of my dad. Um, we used to do this stuff. And I said to myself, I got to do this. I don't care how I do it. I don't care whether it's entertaining in front of a group or being on stage or doing whatever. I need to do this because this is what I need to. This is why I decided to come up with this with Kyle also, was because this is what I want to talk about, because I am so interested in this subject. But bringing up that story, I used to do that, now without the money on my forehead, which would have been nice, but it was just a fantastic story. Billy Crystal, of course, being one of my favorite actors. But it's this is how kind of the concept, how I came up with the concept of kind of getting together with Kyle and wanting to talk
Wonderful.
about movies and entertainment. It's just such a wonderful story. A lot of the stuff I'm not really sure if I can do today because it's not necessarily politically correct. But growing up in the '70s, you could be Archie Bunker a little bit, but now
Yeah.
it's a little bit more difficult to do that. But that's kind of
It
how we
it
came up
it
with it.
is, and but we have to learn how to talk about these things.
Right.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
we have to learn how to talk about these things and being able to talk about them coherently and sensitively, and be able to do that. Well, gentlemen, I thank you, and please, I look forward to getting an opportunity to come on the show. And it was lovely meeting you both
Nice meeting you
and
too, Dennis.
Yes.
That was
No.
seeing
awesome.
exactly
Thank you
how
so
we
much
can.
for Yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We are very excited about putting a show together, with you involved in it, and we look forward to that, and we'll definitely keep in touch and see when we can put that together.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Kyle, and thank you, Doug. And Doug, are you in Massachusetts right now?
Yes, I am
Okay,
in
well, just
Massachusetts right
I
now.
want you to go ahead and you can tell your friends that you were talking to a guy who actually interviewed John Havlicek.
Oh no, you didn't.
I thought
All
I'd do
right,
that
so
for him. I thought I would do. I thought I would do that for Doug. So yeah.
thank you so much, but you have to understand that I grew up in Brookline and I lived right around the corner from Larry Bird. That doesn't top you because you actually
Oh no, no,
interviewed one of
that
the
is
fantastic people, but
it
he
is a
was
lovely it is a lovely experience to be able to do that. But anyway,
I'm
just
sure
I
he
just
was
wanted to go
great.
back to old time Celtics and
That's old time Celtics
not
right there.
it's
That's
past the
awesome.
Koozie era, but it was
A
in
little
the
past the
but it
Cousy
was
area,
in
but
the
not quite. Yeah. I
yeah.
started watching pretty much like right after him. I started watching. So, I mean, I grew up in the Larry Bird era, I think maybe a little bit before that, but I grew up in that era of, I was in high school when, you know, those, those championships were won, and it was just
The
phenomenal. And
amazing coast to coast. And Kyle, where are you?
Oh, I'm actually not that much farther away from Doug. I'm in the same state, just probably about half an hour away. So
Good enough. All right. Well, you guys are in Eastern. I'm in Central, and anyway, let me know, and we'll get a chance to
Central Texas, right? Texas,
schedule.
Central
Yes,
Texas.
sir.
oh,
Excellent.
All
Actually, I
right.
went to Dallas. I don't know where Dallas is located necessarily, but I did take a trip to Dallas. I was doing some training down there when I was working for a company, and I did some training down there for about a week. Um, just the most phenomenal people down in Texas. Just the nicest people in the whole world down in Texas. So you're definitely living in a great area, and it was nice to be down there.
Well, thank you very much, and gentlemen, we will see you soon. Thank you for inviting me in.
Thanks, Dennis.
Bye.
have
Bye
a good
bye.
one.